from the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. This is Dateline Malacañang. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Sunday instructed the Philippine National Police, or PNP, and the Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, to protect and assure the safety of the civilians and vulnerable communities and those affected by the explosion at the Dimaporo Gymnasium at the Mindanao State University in Marawi City. According to the President, Malacañang is closely coordinating with the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, or BARM, and the affected local government units, or LGUs. President Marcos thanked authorities for its swift response to the victims. The chief executive condemned the incident and said that terrorists who commit senseless acts of violence to innocent people are considered enemies of the state. While reports from the ground are still coming in, President Marcos advised the public to remain calm, especially that this incident requires collective effort in order to properly address it so that the situation will not worsen and not lead to the spreading of false information. Meanwhile, President Marcos expressed his condolences and prayers to the families of the victims and the community that was affected by the latest incident on the assault on peace. The President assured that the perpetrators of this violent act will be brought to justice. Meantime, Office of the Presidential Advisor on Peace, Reconciliation and Unity, or OPAPRU, also condemned the incident that killed 4 people and injuring at least 50 others. In a statement, OPAPRU Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. expressed his condolences to the family of those who were killed and wished that they can find a way to be strong to face this challenge. Galvez said that they are already coordinating with BARM as to whatever help that they can extend to the victims and their family.
Dateline Malacañang.
In a related story, Philippine Department of National Defense, or DND Secretary Gilbert Chodoro assured the public that they should not worry following the explosion in Marawi City that killed 4 people. In a meeting at Camp Aguinaldo, Secretary Chodoro said that all relevant security agencies are moving to assure the safety of its citizens. Chodoro added that the Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, and the Philippine National Police, or PNP, in Mindanao is on red alert. The Defense Secretary said that President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. himself instructed all involved agencies to aggressively resolve the incident and make sure that it does not happen again. At the same time, Chodoro assured that the Office of Civil Defense, or OCD, is closely monitoring the needs of the affected residents in Marawi. Meanwhile, PNP Chief Directorate Staff Lieutenant General Emmanuel Peralta said that the heightened alert is also raised in Metro Manila. Lieutenant General Peralta added that because of the alert, motorists and citizens should expect the imposition of checkpoints in strategic places both in Mindanao and Metro Manila, while a full blast investigation of the bombing in Marawi City is ongoing. For the AFP's part, Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Romeo Bronner said, that they are looking at all possible angles in the bombing, including the angle on revenge after the consecutive military operations in the provinces of Maguindanao, Lanao, and Basilan, which started December 1st.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Monday extended the term of Philippine National Police or PNP Chief General Benjamin Acorda Jr., even though the PNP chief reached his mandatory retirement age of 56 on Sunday. As proof, General Acorda led the flag-raising ceremony at Camp Crame Monday morning in observance of Human Rights Consciousness Week. In his remarks, Acorda thanked the president for his continuing trust in him. On Sunday, the PNP chief went to Mindanao to know the details of the bombing at the Mindanao State University or MSU in Marawi City. After the flag-raising ceremony, Chief Acorda will lead a command conference on the assessment of the peace and order situation in Mindanao after the bombing incident.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine Department of National Defense or DND Secretary Gilbert Chodoro called on the public to take it seriously and regularly partake in earthquake drills following the consecutive tremors in Mindanao. Chodoro made the statement at a situation briefing in Camp Aguinaldo related to the 7.4 magnitude earthquake that struck Hinantuan in Surigao del Sur province on Saturday evening. A pregnant woman was reported to have died and 4 were injured by the earthquake. This occurred after a 6.8 magnitude earthquake struck Sarangani, Davao Occidental a few weeks earlier. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, or NDRRMC, reported that the Sarangani earthquake claimed 11 lives and injured 37 others. Office of Civil Defense, or OCD Undersecretary Ariel Nepomuceno earlier ordered officials of the OCD to strengthen its earthquake preparedness measures. Meanwhile, according to the Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, Disaster Response Operations, Monitoring and Information Center, an initial 56,634 families, or over 236,000 individuals, were recorded to have been affected by the quake. Most of the affected were from 156 villages in the Caraga region. There were no data recorded on families that were evacuated, but a good number of houses were demolished. The DSWD said that 84 houses were totally damaged, while 439 were partially damaged by the earthquake. The agency is continuing its assessment on the affected regions, while over 2.8 billion pesos worth of stockpile and standby funds are readily available.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippines has accused China of swarming a reef off its coast after more than 135 military boats were spotted in the South China Sea. The Philippine Coast Guard, or PCG, said the vessels were dispersed and scattered in the vicinity of Julian Felipe Reef, which is within the country's exclusive economic zone, or EEZ. Julian Felipe Reef, also known as Whitsun Reef, is around 320 kilometers from the west coast of Palawan province and is more than 1,000 kilometers from the nearest major Chinese landmass of Hainan Island. The PCG said it counted 111 Chinese maritime militia vessels, or CMMs, on November 13th, When the Coast Guard deployed 2 patrol boats to the area Saturday, the number had increased to more than 135. Last week, the Philippines carried out 2 separate joint air and sea patrols with the United States and with Australia a few days earlier. An arbitral tribunal has already upheld in 2016, has categorically declared that China's claims to historic rights within its so-called 9-dash line in the South China Sea are contrary to the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea or UNCLOS. The contested waters have also become a naval flashpoint for China-U.S. relations, and in October, U.S. President Joe Biden warned that the U.S. will defend the Philippines in case of any attack. President Biden's comments were made days after 2 collisions between Filipino and Chinese vessels in the water. Taiwan, Malaysia, Vietnam, and Brunei also claim parts of the sea.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippines Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, over the weekend confirmed the death of 2 Filipino nationals in China last November 24th due to drug trafficking. This was revealed by the agency after receiving the report from the Philippine Embassy in Guangzhou. In a statement, the DFA said that it has extended its sympathy to the families of the 2 Filipinos that were not named due to the request of the family for privacy. The DFA explained that they did not immediately make public of the hanging as they are waiting for the official advice from China. The 2 Filipinos were arrested in 2013, in which they underwent trial for bringing in illegal drugs to the country until they were found guilty and sentenced to death in 2016. Nevertheless, the DFA assured that the government gave all the legal help and appealed to the courts in Guangzhou to reduce their sentence and stop the hanging. In light of this, the government extended its help to the families of the 2 Filipinos, such as bringing them to Guangzhou to get the remains of their loved ones. Even though the DFA was saddened by the incident, it stands by its initiative of strengthening its campaign against illegal drugs as well as going after the syndicate who is behind the use of Filipino drug mules. The DFA reminded those Filipinos who are planning to go abroad to be careful and not to be a drug mule, which is a modus of the syndicates.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippines reiterated its support for the immediate help and provide the needs of civilians affected by the conflict in Gaza. This was conveyed by Chargé d'Affaires ad interim Ariel Rodelas Peñaranda at the United Nations General Assembly debate. Chargé d'Affaires Peñaranda noted the importance of providing the necessary assistance and address the civilians' safety, including critical facilities such as humanitarian shelters and hospitals. Peñaranda praised the UN Relief and Works Agency, or UNRWA, UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, or UNOCHA, and other agencies affiliated with the United Nations in their efforts and sacrifices amid the crisis in Gaza. He also urged the immediate implementation of solutions in order to avert the spread of violence and called on all participant countries to cooperate and help each other achieve lasting peace. The Philippine Chargé d'Affaires emphasized the support of the Philippines to a two-state solution. according to relevant UN resolutions and agreements, because lasting resolutions can only be achieved by diplomacy, dialogue, and comprehensive negotiations.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has granted a second chance to applicants with pre-qualification clearances from the Philippine Economic Zone Authority or PEZA to create a new economic zone in Metro Manila. The President signed Administrative Order or AO number 11 on November 24th, amending AO 18 issued in 2019. Which imposes a moratorium on the processing and evaluation of applications for the establishment of special economic zones in Metro Manila. AO 18, issued by former President Rodrigo Duterte, orders PEZA to no longer accept, process, or evaluate applications for the creation of Metro Manila eco-zones to promote rural development, ensure inclusive growth in the countryside, and create robust economic activity and wealth generation in areas outside the country's metropolis. Under AO 11, which was made public on Saturday, applications that have already obtained pre-qualification clearances from the PEZA Board under the Implementing Rules and Regulations or IRR of Republic Act or RA 7916 before the moratorium's effectivity under AO 18 should be allowed to resubmit their application with certain conditions. AO 11 emphasizes that only those included in the master list will have the option to resubmit their applications for ecozones provided they undergo anew the pre-qualification process of the PEZA under the IRR of RA 7916. According to President Marcos's AO, all required national or local licenses, clearances, permits, certifications, or authorizations that have already expired need to be renewed under pertinent laws, rules, and regulations. AO 11 clarifies that other provisions of AO 18 will remain in effect, including the moratorium on the processing of applications for the establishment of economic zones in Metro Manila. The new AO was issued to bolster employment in Metro Manila and position it as the leading information and communications technology hub in the country. Based on the government's recent assessment, the services sector, which includes information and communications, continues to be a reliable source of economic activity in the country, with Metro Manila registering the biggest share. The Marcos administration's 8-point socio-economic agenda aims to bolster employment opportunities for the Filipino people through the promotion of investments that boost productivity. AO 11 takes effect immediately after its publication in a newspaper of general circulation.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, the Philippines has endorsed at the Conference of Parties 28 or COP28 in Dubai a landmark declaration that acknowledges the growing health impacts of climate change on communities and countries. The Philippines, through the Department of Health or DOH, joined 122 other states in endorsing the Climate and Health Declaration that will place health at the heart of climate action and accelerate the development of climate-resilient, sustainable, and equitable health systems. The DOH on Saturday said the member countries, including the Philippines, declared support amounting to $1 billion to push the climate health agenda further globally. DOH Secretary Chodoro Herbosa said that the Philippines, through the DOH, shall remain committed to pursuing the climate health agenda. Other new finance commitments were announced to back up the declaration, including a $300 million commitment by the Global Fund to prepare health systems, $100 million by the Rockefeller Foundation to scale up climate announcement and health solutions, and by the United Kingdom of up to 54 million Great Britain pounds. The declaration was issued on December 2nd and joins a series of announcements made during the World Climate Action Summit to keep 1.5 degrees Celsius within reach. The declaration acknowledges the large benefits to people's health from stronger climate action, including reducing air pollution and lowering health care costs. The joint action comes as annual deaths from polluted air hit almost 9 million, while 189 million people are exposed to extreme weather-related events each year. COP28 is the United Nations annual climate change conference and is considered the world's only multilateral decision-making forum on climate change, which encourages the participation of almost every country in the world, specifically member states of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, or UNFCCC. The conference aims to discuss the crisis of climate change, such as global temperature rise, adaptation of vulnerable communities to climate change consequences, and achievement of zero net emissions by the year 2050. Herbosa and other DOH officials attended the conference, joining thousands of delegates from across the globe, where the announcement of the Climate and Health Declaration during the leaders' event, putting health at the center of the climate agenda, was featured.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, we would like to invite everyone to come and visit our Facebook page at Radyo Pilipinas World Service. You will be able to hear and view our Filipino and English programs, including news updates here in the Philippines. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our posts as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and stay safe.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.